What's up? My name is Eric Butler. This channel is called Report and Opine. I am back, and we have a video here from The Independent. Where are the African students who fled Ukraine 1 year on? So this appears to me like it's going to be propaganda for Ukraine and black people all rolled into one. Let's see what they have to say about the students who fled Ukraine, the African students who fled Ukraine. Of course, they give you a trigger warning. It might be distressing.
I put so much hopes into becoming a doctor, and it's who I am. But I felt that I had to let that idea and that dream go in order for me to fully heal.
So first and foremost, are we going to pretend that that's our natural hair? Can we talk about cultural appropriation that looks like a wig or a weave or something that doesn't look natural? I'm just nitpicking here. It doesn't really matter, but it's just funny how they get very angry as soon as a white woman wears dreads or braids or something. That's appropriating. But when a black woman puts on a wig that clearly looks like a white woman's hair, then it doesn't really matter. Again, that's not what this is about. I'm just nitpicking, just being a jerk for, just throwing it back in their face, just for the fun of it. But let's move on. Where are the African students who fled Ukraine 1 year on?
At the start of the war in Ukraine, people were queuing up at the borders to escape from the Russian attacks. As the global humanitarian chain of help stepped in to support Ukrainians fleeing their homeland, African students were blocked and sent back. The Independent was one of the first to report on the many videos that were shared online, showing black people and international students getting kicked out of queues and stopped from entering trains. This video was posted by a medical student who was trying to get to Romania a few days after the war had started.
There were some civilians by the side, and we just stepped out of the car to stretch our legs.
Human rights advocate. Okay. Now, this is really sad. Like, obviously, you want to leave the country too, and it's pretty despicable that they won't let them leave. But these are problems that, the political elite, the establishment, the regime has foisted on us, right? Like, this is their doing. They always create problems so that they can sell you back the solution, right? So this is a problem, a manufactured problem by, I don't know, the world political elites and their weirdo need for war, right? And the military industrial complex and all this money laundering that's going on. And this is just the cost of doing business. So they don't really care. Obviously, nobody really cares about anybody. No lives matter, as some people might say. But they're trying to pretend that this is all about racism, even though this is a problem that they created that destroyed millions of lives, right? We saw something very similar with Rona. They create this problem that destroys a whole bunch of lives, and then they say they're going to fix you. Oh, well, go get the shot. That'll fix it. Oh, wear the mask. That'll fix it. Oh, is your mental health declining? Then take this pill. It's always going to be something, right? They always need... I feel like a broken record, but every single thing is about control. And this one, now they're throwing in the race card to make it seem like are they mad at the Ukrainians now for not letting them leave? Are they mad at Russians for everybody is at fault here. This is all absolutely terrible.
And they had guns, so they said to us, if you don't leave within the next 5 minutes, we'll shoot. There was a man who just came to our door and he knocked and he started pointing to a queue that just had Asian students, black students, and Middle Eastern students. I thought, you know what, let me film this, because if anything happens, at least I'll have evidence. As I'm doing that, the man comes towards me and starts trying to lunge at me. Behind him, the military were just there watching the whole incident. They didn't intervene.
As a British woman born in Zimbabwe, Corinne decided to get her medical degree in Ukraine in Dnipro, one of the country's largest cities. As Russia invaded the country, she was in her second year of medical school, studying to become a doctor. 1 year after this video was filmed, The Independent reached out to ask her how she and others have been faring since the conflict erupted.
I felt that I experienced an identity crisis because a major part of who I was or am is a medical student. I put so much hopes into becoming a doctor, and it's who I am. But
Okay, and also they're clearly targeting her. They want to talk to her because she's black, because she's African. They're not gonna really question what happened to the natural born Ukrainians that had to flee. They don't really care about that, right? This is a great way to roll in two current things, two talking points into one super sad story, I guess, to, of course, vilify Putin or vilify the Ukrainian army. I don't know. They're supposed to love Ukraine, right? We're giving them all this money, but nobody wants to talk about the 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 Nazi regime in Ukraine. Nobody wants to talk about all the money laundering. Nobody wants to talk about Zelensky, his acting career and his weirdo cross-dressing video. Well, a lot of people do want to talk about that. That has gone viral, but it's not like anything's going to happen. It's not going to stop. We're still going to, right? I mean, just last week or whatever it was, a couple weeks ago when this train derailment happens and they start burning all these chemicals into the sky in Ohio, and Joe Biden goes to Ukraine to tell people that we're going to end up paying their pensions or whatever it is. They don't really care. It's all about money and, of course, control.
I felt that I had to let that idea and that dream go in order for me to fully heal.
Oh, of course, it's so sad she had to let her dream go because of the war. This is just, oh, it's heartbreaking. They're really pulling on the heartstrings here with this. But that's what the media does. Of course, the Independent is just a weirdo left-wing establishment rag. It's all disgusting.
Corinne's life drastically changed overnight.
I left my daughter. My mum sacrificed a lot in order for me to go and chase this dream. And I thought, okay, so I've let everybody down because, you know, I've come back with nothing. You know, that hurt a lot. But I had to tell myself that I didn't start any of this. It's not my fault. And even if I don't become a doctor, it doesn't make me any less than.
Following outcry from African students, grassroots organisations, and black global celebrities, the United Nations finally acknowledged that black people faced racism at Ukraine's borders.
Of course, black global celebrities. Who better to tell you that everything is racist than black global celebrities? So I guess this isn't really a hit piece on Russia like I thought it might be, but this is more of a hit piece on the government in Ukraine for all the wrong reasons, right? Now, sure, maybe they were racist. I don't know. They didn't let these people leave. Fine, fair enough. But they've done much worse things, right? Like before this entire conflict, Ukraine was known as one of the most corrupt countries in the world. But now that this has happened, the only thing that they care about is racism.
Silencing speculation that reports of discrimination were being falsified. But 1 year on, and still not enough help is being provided from global organizations.
Yeah, we just need more. We need more money. We need more money. Give Ukraine more money.
Governments and agencies to the 76,000 international students, mostly from African countries, who were based in Ukraine before the war. They are now displaced across at least 21 countries around the world, in many cases unable to complete their studies and unsure of the next move.
It's very, very hard, and I empathize with a lot of my colleagues who have resulted in taking their own lives because I felt that depression.
And there you have it. It's always life and death. Every single thing with these people, it's always life and death. Every single issue, every single talking point, every bit of the agenda is life and death if you do not obey. And they weasel it in there without fail every time.
In which where you feel, okay, so what's my life? Like, what am I supposed to do?
This crisis added to the trauma of having to flee a war and is having a huge impact on the students' mental health and overall.
And yeah, but they keep the war going, right? At least us here in America are keeping it going. Joe Biden giving billions of dollars, all this equipment, they keep it going because they need it, right? Like, they're pretending like, oh, it's so sad that all these people have been displaced and their dreams have been crushed. Meanwhile, they keep perpetuating the war, right? Like we could be completely hands off and let them handle it, and it may be finished by now. But nope, we have to stand up for Ukraine because anything less would be just completely the wrong thing to do. That would be racist and homophobic and transphobic if you don't cut a part of your paycheck to the Ukrainian government that clearly is in cahoots with the Biden regime, right? And let's remember, too, for the record, how we spent 3 years, when I say we, I mean the mainstream media spent at least 3 years screaming about how Donald Trump was in cahoots with Russia. They drop it like a bad habit and then say, oh, it was a Ukrainian phone call. And these just happen to be the two countries that are involved in a war now. Like, it's all a joke. And, we're the butt of the joke every single time.
Well-being. The Independent spoke to 2 students.
Whatever they're doing for Ukrainians, they should remember that Ukrainians didn't live in Ukraine alone. There were other people living in Ukraine with Ukrainians, and regardless of the color of our passports or the color of our skin or our hair, it's not really been great on my mental health. I've just been thrown into real life at such short notice, and I'm having to deal with life as a graduate, as somebody that's finished school and is in real life, but I'm still in school. I had to change everything about my life. I'm out of the war zone, and it's a year but it doesn't feel like it's a year to me. It still feels really, really fresh. I came back from the war and had to stay at home. I had to change my life. Before, I was in my space, I was in school, a learning environment, I could study, but because of the effect of the war, I didn't find myself being able to study for a long time. But I know it's something I had to do. So
this is all nonsense.
I found myself reading with emotional issues.
The focus now for Africans in Ukraine education fund is to ask the global community as well as policymakers if scholarships and aid can be put in place so that this group of students can carry on with their education. Because
give us more stuff.
There shouldn't be tragedies of a war, and education is a fundamental human right.
Education is a fundamental human right. Give us more stuff. We just need more stuff. So this is what happens, is that we remember that terrible Afghanistan pullout, and we thought, okay, maybe that war is over. And then 2 months goes by, and now there's a war in Ukraine because they can't not do war. They need it. They need the money. They need the control. They need the power. So we get out of Afghanistan. All right, wipe our hands of that, even though the pullout was terrible. Then immediately jump into another war, weasel ourselves into a war between two countries across the other side of the world, and then create that problem, and then give one of those countries more money made out of our tax dollars, and then create sob stories like this to ask for even more money, for more scholarships, because their dreams nobody worry about the baby formula shortage. Nobody worry about inflation or eggs or gas, none of that stuff. Well, the main thing here is that you need to be concerned about a war in Ukraine with Russia because we told you to. This is the same thing, like, you need to be worried about the fresh air outside and not wearing a mask because we told you to, and for no other reason. It doesn't concern you at all, but if you don't care about it, then you will be deemed a bigot, clearly a heartless bigot who doesn't care about standing up for democracy or whatever weirdo talking point they come up with this week. So, thank you for watching. Please like, comment, share, and of course, subscribe.